Sunny in Sayreville League is in the books, and we are crowning a newish champion with a victory of less than 5 points in the championship game. The Moth was victorious over the Gotham Rogues to take home the franchise's third championship and once again sit atop the Always Sunny in Sayreville League. Let's take a look at how the whole thing played out. The Porter division was a hotly contested battle for most of the season, as the highest scoring teams in the league largely resided among the Porters. For a great portion of the season, the Moth was leading the Porter division, and only towards the end of the season suffered a bit of a swoon that allowed the Gotham Rogues to overtake them with a 9-5 record versus the Moth's 8-6 record to win the division and secure the first round bye. By falling from the 2nd seed to the 4th seed, the Moth secured themselves the 2021 Always Sunny in Sayreville Championship. In the previous update, I joked that there was a decent sized chance that playoff reseeding would be the Moth's undoing, but in this case, the seeding is exactly what the Moth needed. If the Moth had ended up with the first round bye in the 2 seed, or had just stumbled down to the 3 seed, they would have ended up scoring 180 points on the opposite side of the bracket from Sweep the Leg, who would have ultimately just walked right to the championship. The Moth's 180 points was the only score in the playoffs that could have prevented Sweep the Leg from winning the championship. And by securing the 4 seed, that ensured that those 2 teams would meet in the semifinals and not the finals. The Moth's 2-game losing streak at the end of the season, which at the time caused concern and cost a little bit of money for the division title, actually ensured the path that they needed to get to the championship. Pretty interesting stuff. Not salty, not mad at all. Not mad. It's interesting. That's what it is. It's interesting. What else is interesting is that now we've been through 10 seasons officially, and I'm going to go ahead and list off in order our 10 champions. Starting in 2012, the formerly named Sweep the Leg team, and then in 2013, Toddler Fight Club. 2014, the Moth joined the league, and as the first non-original owner, won the championship in their first season. In his first season in the league, he won a championship, and that has not been done by any new member since. So that's an accomplishment in and of itself, not to mention the fact that the Moth has been one of the stronger teams in the league since he entered the league and added 2 more chips along the way. So after the Moth won in 2015 was the Gotham Rogues' year to break through, and in 2016 was Team Blumpkin's year to break through. And then we had a little bit of a repeat. The Moth won it, then TFC won it again, and then Sweep the Leg won it again. And then last year, who could forget, our sweet boy Bobby J finally reaching the mountaintop and taking home the cup. And then once again this year, the Moth is crowned champion. So if you're scoring at home, that's 3 championships for the Moth, 2 championships apiece for Sweep the Leg and Toddler Fight Club, and then 3 championships for everyone else who's ever played in this league. I just thought that was interesting. I said that at the beginning. I just said it was interesting. Stats. Interesting stats. 70% of the championships have gone to your current champion, the Moth, Sweep the Leg, your esteemed commissioner, and Toddler Fight Club, one of the oldest and most beloved members of the Always Sunny in Sayreville League. So once again, congratulations to the Moth on their 3rd championship. The cup will be professionally steam cleaned, and then the plaque will be added and it will be delivered to you ASAP. But as we all know from years of experience, trophy people are all pretty weird. So the timeline on that is really anybody's guess. Also, congratulations to the Gotham Rogues for coming in 2nd place and to Sweep the Leg for coming in 3rd. And notably, this is the 4th straight year that Sweep the Leg has finished in the money. So that's something, right? All right, so now let's talk about the draft next year and also get rid of some dirty work all at the same time if we possibly can. Let's talk about this year's GOAT, and we're gonna go in the order of next year's draft. Next year, picking first in the draft, Toddler Fight Club. Now, Toddler Fight Club, obviously I just mentioned that they have 2 championships under their belt. You know, one of the classic franchises in the league. You know, if you look back, they have one of the best winning percentages over the lifetime of their franchise, you know, except the last couple seasons, of course. So he'll be picking first next year and trying to get this once proud franchise. It's very parallel to the New York Giants story, quite frankly. It's time to right the ship. It's time to really get things going. So you know, Tyler Fight Club with the first pick, time to make an impact. Here we go. Sizzler with the 2nd pick in the draft. Sizzler just all over the place this year, all over the place every year. What do you say to a guy who's been in the league for the same amount of time as Bobby J? And the trajectory of these 2 players. I mean, a lot of people don't remember this, but Anthony actually holds the record for the best regular season record of 12-1. It's his actual crowning achievement in the league so far. But since that time, it's really been just snake bite after snake bite. He'll be picking second next year in hopes of turning the fortunes of the franchise around. We got a new name, maybe time for a new game. Picking third next season is going to be Omar's team, and you know, in this league, we don't really look kindly on players or teams that don't name their team. So, you know, at the beginning of next year, you know, obviously Omar, great guy, really happy to have him in the league. If you don't name your team, I'm going to name your team. That's my recap on that. You'll be picking third next year, so hopefully Mahomes will still be available for you at 103. Picking number 4, and this one is a hard one because this team is typically, if you look again, I mentioned lifetime records. This is a team with a really good, solid lifetime record. Picking 4th this year is going to be Team Blumpkin. Don't really know what happened. Don't really know what the situation was there. Normally a much stronger team, much stronger finish. Normally a playoff team. This year, not a threat. Not a threat at all. Picking 5th, Just Call Me Daddy, the other new member of our league. Happy to have you. Thank you very much. I made sure when I paid out the 3rd place award and the division winner award, I made sure to use Just Call Me Daddy's portion for that particular prize, just to make sure that the accounting was correct and neat in my ledger. The next pick will go to Beer Muscles, who was the first team outside the playoffs. And if you remember, he was actually trying to defend the championship and he actually missed the playoffs. So that's a disgrace in and of itself. Maybe next year, Bobby, go back to letting the computer auto pick your team for you, at least for the first couple rounds. Worked out the previous year. A lot of people forget that. The following pick is going to be the Golden Showers. The Golden Showers made a very rare appearance in the playoffs this year. Very brief appearance, but a rare and wonderful appearance. Is this a sign of good things to come for the Golden Showers? Time will tell. However, history already has a little bit of a story written down. Pretty Boy Johnny. Pretty Boy Johnny also made the playoffs this year. Made the playoffs in one of the wins that helped the Moth fall into the 4th spot and really kind of fuck me. So Pretty Boy Johnny, I hope that you have a really great off season, and I hope your next season goes really well too. Number 9 is the Drunken Bums. Drunken Bums made it to the semifinals of the playoffs this year. Actually had a really strong season, scored a lot of points, a couple of really solid stars on his lineup. The issue with the Drunken Bums, super inconsistent. So can he follow it up with another good season, and never can seem to really get it done in the playoffs? That's really the bugaboo there. Starting to become a legitimate playoff contender, but not necessarily a playoff competitor. Sweep the Leg, finish in 3rd place. We'll be picking 10th this year. Definitely had some really bad draft picks this year that put him in a bad hole. Still really fortunate, with some good luck and some good rolls of the dice to get to a 10-4 record, best record in the league, got the first round bye, and then that good luck turned into bad luck in the semis. Next year, maybe won't fall in love with as many players, and maybe we'll do a little more objective analysis going into the draft. You never know. I'm a lover. Picking 11th, finishing as the runner-up, losing the championship game by less than 5 points. Always a strong team. This is like that Team Blumpkin anomaly. Blumpkin and the Rogues are always right there. These are two franchises that historically they're always right there, and both of them have chips to show. The Rogues, another strong showing, got real close. I actually made a Facebook post where I thought that they had already had their second chip. Apologies to Tyler Fight Club, I had the stats backwards there. However, the Rogues, another solid season. He just keeps his head down, keeps doing his work. We're not entirely sure that John Narkowitz is fully human. There is like a Elon Musk sort of Mark Zuckerberg in front of Congress, data from Star Trek thing happening there. Like it's a great guy, really good at fantasy football. Big fan of John Narkowitz. Love him to come around a little bit more, just so that maybe we could pluck a piece of hair or something. Like, I don't know, just swab the inside of the cheek. Picking 12th, obviously, is going to be our champion. Hard to roast the champ. Had a great season among one of the highest scoring teams in the regular season. Was right at the top of the division until that late swoon, which ultimately helped him win the championship. Played the waiver wire really well. Picked up a lot of really smart guys. Played the waiver wire well. So, congratulations to the Moth picking 12th next year. As I mentioned, the cup will be deep cleaned, and then the plaque will be applied by some really, really weird person, I'm sure, and then delivered to you, where it, I'm sure, has a familiar spot and most likely will be turned into a lamp or some other household appliance for the year. So we're excited to get that update. That's the draft order, that's the roast. And as always, our draft is the Tuesday after the third preseason game. So next year's draft, the Tuesday after the third preseason game. You can use the same platform, Yahoo, same deal, everything's gonna be the same. The one thing we might change is we may go to a dollar auction waiver structure as opposed to the list. There's not many moving parts between this season and next season that I know of, unless somebody leaves that I'm not aware of. I'd like to put that on the table, the auction where you get like $200 to spend through the year, and then you bid each week, and whoever is the highest bidder. So it's like everybody gets a shot at all the best waiver guys each week instead of just being whoever's at the top of the list. I think that might be a rule that I'd like to, or a feature I'd like to switch. If you guys have any input on that, reach out to me, let me know. Okay, so the next thing that we need to cover, obviously, is the year-end awards, the superlatives. The points champ, as we've noted before, was the Gotham Rogues. We had a couple high-scoring teams in the Porter division, but the Rogues ended up about, I want to say, almost 100 points ahead of the next team. Very, very solid job. The division winners were the Gotham Rogues and Sweep the Leg. And the best record in the league was Sweep the Leg. The brown helmet, which goes to the last place team, is Tyler Fight Club. And the fewest points scored in the league was Sizzler. The most points against, and this should be no surprise because he lost the most games, was Tyler Fight Club. The teams just beat the hell out of him. And the fewest points against was Sweep the Leg, which makes sense because they were one of the lower scoring teams that made the playoffs. They actually got a first round bye, and they were lower scoring than I think every single Porter qualifier. But Sweep the Leg did have the fewest points against in the regular season, which certainly helped their 10-4 record. Best trade, worst trade was the same trade. Jonathan Taylor, DJ Moore, and Zach Moss for Derrick Henry, Hollywood Brown, and Miles Sanders. Now, at face value, trading away Jonathan Taylor is just a bad trade, period. Even though you're getting back Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor ended up being, and I think even at the time, Jonathan Taylor was a beast, and Derrick Henry having gotten injured, you can't really control that. Trading away Jonathan Taylor in this season is a tough look. That's a tough look. On the flip side of the coin, getting Jonathan Taylor in that trade and trading away Derrick Henry at the right time just before he got injured. And, again, injuries, that's tough to really sort of factor, but timing is important. Luck is a big deal in fantasy football, as we all know. And getting JT right before Derrick Henry goes down, that's pretty clutch. It's pretty clutch. The waiver wire pickup of the year was Eli Mitchell. Now, we had a lot of really good waiver wire pickups as it went along, but Eli Mitchell was picked up the earliest and stayed with the same team for the entire rest of the season and finished as one of the top running backs. When healthy, he was a top 10 back easy every week. The most damaging injury to a fantasy team, you would, I think, probably assume Derrick Henry, and that was damaging for sure, especially because you traded away JT to get him. But I think that the most damaging, if you look at it, is a larger scope because Derrick Henry was killing it before he got injured. So he put up a lot of stats. So, he helped his team quite a bit before he got injured. Christian McCaffrey, however, was drafted number 2 overall. And he played effectively 4.5 games, maybe 5 games this season. To me, him getting injured, way more catastrophic because when you draft him number 2 overall, he's supposed to be the cornerstone of your team. You are expecting 1,000 and 1,000 from him, and he gave you 5, maybe 5 games. We usually give out a bench warmer award for a notable performance that a guy was left on the bench, but without examining it on a week-by-week basis, we can just say that there was 4 players that Sweep the Leg could have chosen from for their third receiver in that semifinals game. 3 of those receivers scored between 13.8 and 15.9 points, and the other one didn't even get a target, and that's the guy who went in the game, and that kind of hurts. And then on secondarily, you don't usually bench a defense, but Sweeps the Leg streamed the absolute wrong defense in that situation, and that proved those two moves proved to be the difference because while 180 is a dope score for the Moth to put up, Sweep the Leg could have gotten there, but man, did they make 2 really, really key bonehead roster moves there. So you live and you learn and you try not to get sick. The Jim Mora Award for the closest to the playoffs without actually making the playoffs goes to the Beer Muscles, who was, again, defending the championship.
Playoffs?
Completely blew it. Best draft pick. You know what? Let's do worst draft pick first. I'm just going to go down this list. It's hard for me to choose one, so I just want to point out a couple of notable bad draft picks. 1.01. Patrick Mahomes was drafted. 1.02, just mentioned Christian McCaffrey, pretty much injured the entire season. 1.05, Derrick Henry, he was blowing up and then he just blew up. 1.06, Kamara, I think we can agree that, aside from a handful of games, he's been a general disappointment. 1.09, Saquon Barkley. 3.01, this was a fun one to see. When I saw it, I was like, who? What? And I remember that there were, terms at the beginning of the season that made this person relevant, I suppose, but at 301, Gus Edwards should not have been on the board. This was a fun one. Sweep the Leg drafted Robert Woods and Brandon Ayuk at the 3-4 turn, just ahead of a player we'll talk about in just a few minutes. And at the 410, Julio Jones, PB&J, Julio Jones at the 410. I think this is going to be a big year from Julio. Now we move on to best draft pick. Now we have 2 very interesting nominees here, so I'll just go ahead and point them out. At the 4.09, T. Higgins from the Bengals was drafted. At 5.08, right around the turn, about a round later, Tyler Boyd was drafted. 1 pick later, 5.09, Jamar Chase was drafted. So 4.09 T. Higgins, 5.08 Tyler Boyd, 5.09 Jamar Chase. That's value. And earlier I just referenced that I drafted at the 3-4 turn. I drafted Woods at the end of the 3rd and Ayuk at the beginning of the 4th. A couple picks later, after Ayuk, was our league MVP, Cooper Kupp, who was drafted by the M.O.T.H and was obviously one of the cornerstones of his championship team. So you decide what was the best draft pick there. Was it Cooper Kupp or was it Jamar Chase? And who was the worst draft pick? I mean, was it just Mahomes 101 and, end of conversation? Or are we discussing a couple of guys who underperformed or got injured? Are we talking about a Saquon? Are we talking about a Julio in the 4th round? Are we talking about taking Woods and Ayuk over Cooper Kupp? I couldn't decide, so just putting them out there. All right, so that's it for the year-end awards, and that's it for the year-end special. Thank you all for checking it out. As I was sort of editing and watching the little, piece that I put together pre-playoffs there, it kind of reminded me how much fun these things were and how much I kind of missed it. And so I was, kind of excited to do one more and just recap the season. It was a fun one. It was a weird season. A lot of, close to 500 teams, handful of dominant players that really just kind of like shaped the landscape. And certainly a lot of fun. So thanks for being a part of it. Hopefully we all will be back next season on Yahoo. If anybody needs to get at me during the season, you all know how to reach me. If you're not, friends on Facebook, friend of the Facebook, Sunny Sayreville. And I will see you guys next season, where it's always sunny.